Magip Board of Directors meeting. And then we did confirm that we have a quorum, so that's awesome. Are there any revisions to the agenda before we get started? Okay, I just am going to informally say that we'll follow the agenda as it's presented here, but that Nate may actually need a little bit of time. And if Michelle has not jumped on the call yet, I would like to move that down because she does have some additional information regarding the insurance update. So other than that, if she's here, we'll just leave it as it is. And then ask for somebody to make a motion to approve the February meeting minutes.
Sure, I can make a motion to approve February meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Awesome. All in favor, say aye.
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 Awesome. Anybody opposed, say nay. All right. The February 2025 meeting minutes are officially approved. And Jackson, you're up to give us an update on the Earth Science Student Colloquium at MSU.
Yeah, sure. I think I can probably be even quicker than 10 minutes. So the Earth Science Student Colloquium, Magip participates every year. This year it's April 23rd in the Strand Union building in the sub, if you know where that is. And typically Magip, a few Magip representatives help by judging student posters. There's a contest with some cash prizes given out. And then also traditionally, I think some Magip board members have been on the the professionals panel where students get a chance to interact with professionals and ask them about their path, their career, how they ended up in the position that they're in. So this year, Jenny, myself, and Helen are all volunteers to help judge posters. And then Gail, I believe, has graciously volunteered to be on the professionals panel. So we're coordinating with it's student run, which is really cool. So we're coordinating with the graduate students who are heading it up this year. That's kind of my update for right now. If anyone else would like to throw their name in the ring, I'm sure there's room for more poster judges. I'm not sure if the panel is full yet, but any questions at this point?
Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be participating in that. And I love when we give out the money, people are always like so surprised, like, who are you people walking around? And then when you give them money, they think it's super cool. All right. So Nate, I'm gonna give you the option. We can talk about the insurance update right now, or we can, oh, there's Michelle right. Well, that was perfect timing. Let's give Michelle just a minute to get joined. And then I'm gonna go to the quote. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for joining. We were going to move things around to accommodate having you here during this discussion regarding the insurance, but you popped on right in time.
Sorry, I had somebody trying to pay conference registration. Anyway, long story. Their membership was kind of messed up, so I had to do that first, and then they wanted to pay everything in one invoice, so I couldn't get off the phone.
Well, we're happy to take their money.
I know, right?
That's awesome. Okay. So Nate, if you wouldn't mind, you guys should all be able to see the insurance quote here. Let me know if you cannot see it.
We can see it.
Awesome. Okay. Nate, you're up.
Okay, so yeah, this is the time of year where we typically renew our directors and officers insurance. And yeah, we have budgeted $698 for that. And I think it was asked a couple weeks ago about if we had insurance to cover events that Magip holds throughout the year, so the conference and the meetups. And yeah, we don't have general liability insurance. And so the past month, I worked with Gail to submit an application to get a quote for general liability. And we got a quote back today, so we haven't had much time to go over it. But yeah, Gail has it pulled up there, and I don't see the price, but if you scroll down, I think right there. Yeah, so the premium amount is $1,516. And so that's up almost $1,000 just for general liability insurance. And so, yeah, that general liability insurance would pretty much cover like damages to any venues that we hold events at, and then also things such as like bodily injury that might happen. And yeah.
Okay. So Nate, can I just ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I think that in the past, we've had management liability coverages.
Yes, yep. So in this quote, the management liability coverage, that's the directors and officers insurance. Yeah.
And it does look like that's gone up slightly just based on what we budgeted.
Yeah, yep, and
Okay.
it's actually slightly up from the renewal quote that we got a month ago. And if you scroll down, there is something new that they included that I think we should ask about, which is that employment practice liability. I'm not
Oh.
sure exactly what that covers, and if we actually need it. So that's, yeah, something we should ask about if we want to move forward with this.
I don't think you do need that, Nate,
Okay, great.
Okay.
just because I think under full scope, we carry our own insurance. So I feel like we're covered under that umbrella. I mean, you can certainly check, but I've had is this still UFLI or is this a different company you went through?
It's still, well, yeah, that's what I'm also a little confused about. Because
They
our
might just
directors,
outsource it. Yeah,
okay,
they might out.
our directors and officers insurance, that has been USLI, but this says Mount Vernon Fire Insurance Company, so that's different.
It's probably who they go through. But I've had in renewing for other associations, I'll all of a sudden have them like slip in a light item like that and not tell me about it.
Okay,
Yeah. But I mean, you can check, but I don't think you need that employment practices.
okay,
Okay. So I would actually like to chat a little bit more. I would like to everybody to participate in this conversation because this commercial general liability would actually be new. I do think I agree that and this is just me because I have the floor. I think that we could ask them to remove that $187 employment practices liability. I don't think we need that either. If you guys have a different opinion, please tell us what you think. But Michelle, could you tell us more about this commercial general liability, like what that means? And Nate, also you, based on the research that you've done, like what this means.
Yeah, so this would cover before, like Nate said, you guys had the directors and officers insurance that covers you as a board or whoever's sitting in those board positions. What the general liability covers is also, like Nate stated, since you do recurring events throughout the year at different places, and they are sanctioned as Magip hosted events. Like an example, if you were doing a meetup at a brewery in Billings and hypothetically somebody gets hurt during the event, they technically could come after Magip. Would that ever happen? Probably not. They would probably go after the brewery. But in the event that were to happen, then this is what that coverage would protect you from. If you were just doing your conference, like one conference a year, then it would behoove you, it would be more beneficial for you just to get event insurance for that one event. But because you host several events throughout the year, general liability might make more sense for you.
Yeah, and I did see another like add-on I'm wondering we could ask about, and that's on page 2 of 4. Underneath the liability coverage, there's that last line item called increased limits medical expense coverage. And I'm wondering if we needed the increased limits or if we could just get like the standard limits. And that
Yeah, we
might
should
also
ask
reduce the
about
cost
that.
of that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I actually got dropped for a minute, and so I missed what Michelle was talking about. Does anybody have any questions about the cost of what adding this additional general liability would cover? Rob?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. So first of all, what are the laws regulating, what we need to have insurance for? I guess, like, for an example, I have a friend who was recently in a car accident. He had health insurance. The state said you need to have, at least $50,000 worth of liability insurance. He had 100,000. He is being sued, but the state says he met his full obligations. Right. So in that case, I wonder, are there any, do we have to have insurance? What is the obligation, if we are supposed to have insurance? So that was one question. And then the other question is, in terms of meetups, when when somebody does a request for assistance and they are hosting, they are putting on the meetup, are we involved in that?
That's a good
Right.
question. Like, do we have a disclaimer? Is that what you mean, Rob?
I don't know if we do have a disclaimer. It might not be a bad idea to have a disclaimer. But I'm just thinking in terms of this liability, like, are we actually hosting the event? I don't really think so. We are supporting an event, but we're not hosting it. If somebody does a request for assistance and is then doing a meetup. So outside of the and that's kind of what I'm getting at in terms of us hosting events outside of the conference. What exactly are we hosting?
Yeah, that's a good point, Rob. If those meetups are not Magip in association with Magip or being hosted by Magip, then those, yeah, maybe they don't. I thought they were Magip hosted events. So and
it's a good question. It's a great question, and it's probably something we should contemplate and
Well,
what exactly that means.
yeah, for like the GIS meetup in Bozeman, I think Gail was making, or maybe Hillary helped us make some graphics, and it was, hosted by the city of Bozeman, city of Belgrade, Pickett. Like, we just put our names of those of us that we knew were going to come and support and participate in that. But, it was supported obviously by Magip, but the like language of how we presented that was certainly that it was being hosted by, you know, those of us in our local community that wanted to participate and have something fun.
Right.
Yeah, and if it's gonna save us, you know, whatever, $400 a year, if we can cut it back to just insurance for the conference, if all we need to do is put a disclaimer on the website that those Magip meetups are supported by but not officially hosted by Magip, then that seems like low-hanging fruit to save some money.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could I also add another thing to consider? So one of the questions on the it's like the pick list, like what do you want to have covered? What do you don't want to have covered? One of the questions is do your board members, in this case it would be the board members, regularly travel to and from events? So one of the reasons that I would be in favor of adding general liability is because when we have those in-person meetups that happen 4 times a year, our board members are actually traveling from a location to a location, not in what would necessarily be a company vehicle. So I mean, like we would have to spend more time digging into it, but I think that's actually also something to consider. Whether or not Magip would have any kind of liability or be responsible in any way if one of you were to get into an accident en route to a Magip event, right? So those are definitely things to consider. One of the things that I also was thinking about going through this process with Nate and getting the liability and just getting insurance coverage in general is that as an organization grows, sometimes you have to reconsider what you're responsible for and what you're not responsible for. I think that, you know, maybe in the past we weren't having meetups in the same way that we're having meetups now. We definitely were traveling, but we also live in a rural state, and in a rural state where you're on roads that have a higher speed limit, in the event that you were to get into a car accident, it would definitely increase the risk of having a greater injury. So Rob, to your point, I don't have the answers to those questions, but maybe those are questions that we should go back and ask or do some research on.
Yeah, I definitely, I think there's some food for thought there, and you make some good points. I think also, you know, with the conference coming right up, we could probably, you know, we could get the general insurance that we have been getting. And then after the conference, if we felt like we needed to lawyer up some more, we could add to it. Is that a reasonable thought?
Well, that's a good question. So Nate and I talked about this earlier. Nate, tell me if I'm wrong. I think that our insurance is due April 20th. Did I get that date right, Nate?
Correct. Yeah. And that's, yeah, we only have directors and officers insurance right now.
Yeah. So the other question that I would have, and maybe Michelle, you have a general idea of if we were to get insurance that was like the conference insurance, what does that generally run?
Event insurance,
Event insurance.
I think it's anywhere from like $300 to $400.
Okay. And in the past, have we gotten that?
Not to my knowledge. Usually, there are certain, like if you have a conference at a convention center or a venue like that, they typically will require that you have it. Magip has never been in a venue that's required event insurance. So we've never purchased it since I've been on board it anyway. And I don't know, yeah, I mean, I think they're all good questions, and I think that, you know, Gail, you were talking about the board, so keep in mind, you already pay for directors and officers insurance. But, and Nate, you could ask the insurance company, I'm not sure what the policy, I don't think I've ever seen your policy, but I don't know that that directors and officers insurance would cover a board member in a vehicle accident. I think the directors and officers insurance is designed more to protect you as a board for making decisions on behalf of the association as far as like, you know, fraud and those types of things. So I would check on, I don't know that the DNO would cover what the situations you're talking about, Gail, as far as like somebody traveling to a board meeting and getting in a car accident. That might fall more under general liability.
Right. So, and then if we had general liability, it would cover us at any of the events. So we wouldn't have to just like do
Yeah,
one-offs where it's just like for the event, one single event.
right. General liability should, at least to my knowledge, I haven't looked at this or the policy, but most general liabilities would cover events that you are hosting, especially events where you're serving alcohol.
Okay.
And again, I mean, the likelihood of anything ever happening is probably not very high. I mean, but I guess you never know.
Mhm. Okay, so I guess the thing to consider is, and Nate and I also discussed this, so year over year, the last 4 years, I would say that we have increasingly been earning more money. And that this might be a good time to consider increasing our insurance to general liability. But I also feel like I'm not the person that should be making that decision. That's definitely a board decision. So I don't know if we want to take a vote, or I'd like to get you guys' ideas. Do we want to spend more time on it? Do we want to vote yes or no right now?
I just had one question for Nate.
Yes.
Nate, do you know if the general liability, this quote, I guess I can't really see it, but does it include, is this in addition to the DNO insurance?
No, this quote includes the DNO insurance,
So it includes it. Okay.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually, I mean, we just got coverage for another association for general liability. We do recommend that our other associations have general liability just to cover you, but and I think they pay like 2,200 for the DNO and the general liability. So this is actually a pretty reasonable quote. Just to give you a comparison.
I'll throw my 2 cents in here. This is the first I've seen of this quote because obviously Nate said you guys just got it. I mean, it's great that you, Gail, and Nate were already talking about this and stuff and have some ideas of what we want to do and stuff. But I don't know how many other people have seen this or have, I mean, if it's just right now we're talking about it, I certainly do not want to vote on this right this very moment unless everybody else wants to vote on it and they feel confident with you and Nate and Michelle and everything that's been said. But I certainly don't want to be voting on this right now. That's just my opinion, though.
Thank you, Mike. I would actually like to hear from everybody else, whether or not you think we should take a little bit of time. So again, just to be clear, Nate requested, so we put the paperwork for this quote in a couple days ago, a week ago. Nate requested that Melanie respond because he hadn't gotten the quote. And she hadn't, as of this morning, she hadn't responded. And I actually reached out to her and asked her to send us the quote because we were going to be talking about it today. So, and the conversation with Michelle was me reaching out to her to say, hey, what do other organizations like us, what are they doing? So it is very short notice. Other than that, we know that Nate had received the renewal request. And we don't have to make any changes at all, right? We could go with the directors and officers liability and leave it as it is. I just think that it would be prudent for us to consider having general liability insurance, especially given that we're traveling, that we have more meetups that we're having, and because in the past we haven't had event coverage. So maybe we should couch this and give everybody an opportunity to think about it. One thing I would say is that we definitely will have to vote on it at the April meeting, which will be our in-person meeting, unless we hold a special meeting to talk about it. But there were definitely some questions that came up about it. What's our legal obligation? Do we have a disclaimer with regard to meetups? Is that something that we want to add? Yeah, and I think just also knowing that the deadline's April 20th. So given everybody that has spoken up, if anybody else has anything that they want to add, please do so.
I would agree. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
No, please, Helen, go ahead.
I would agree with Mike that I'd like some time to think about this and digest it and
Okay.
before voting on.
Hey, Rob. Rob, was
Yeah,
there something you wanted to add?
Yeah, just for clarification, it's a little small on my screen. So
Sorry.
our initial coverage was at 431? Is that what we were paying, or were we paying 885?
698.
Right here.
Directors, okay, and then employment practices liability? That's just the
So this
general.
was a line item that we had discussed asking the insurance provider to remove this because Michelle had said that they already have coverage for that.
Okay. Okay, so, and then adding the additional liability you were just talking about would get us to 1,500?
Here, let me go to the top page, sorry, because it's kind of confusing the way that they have it laid out. Right. So this is what the premium would be based on those broken out costs. And then there is a policy fee of $100. There's taxes of almost $42. And then that gets us to this 1657. And then I'm gonna scroll back down. Sorry, I don't mean to give you whiplash or anything. But then this is the management liability coverage is right here. It looks like that they're calling it something different than what we called it in the past, which was
The
directors and office.
Mhm.
Yeah. And maybe that's something that we also need to ask, is for them to qualify, like, what's the difference between this versus this? Because it did go up, and I think it's because of this employment practices liability.
But that's, I mean, going from $700 to $1,700, that's,
Yeah.
I just want to know,
Yeah.
what's the difference in the premium and where those differences come from? So the liability part is kind of doubling it, basically.
Yeah, the liability part is like a little over 800.
Yeah. And
Yep,
so,
and the
yeah, I mean, overall, look, it's not that huge of an expense, especially in the context of if something does go awry. But I guess I'm kind of wondering what elements could go awry, right? We're at a conference, somebody chokes on a piece of shrimp. Is that our fault? No, right? things of that nature. You know, you get in a car accident, well, you got car insurance. Things like
Well,
that. So overall, I'm not opposed to it. Let's just be clear about what we're buying.
Yeah.
So we can vote on that purchase. The nice thing is we don't have to vote on it before the conference, right? Because we're kind of covered beforehand.
Well, we don't have general liability for the conference, and we don't have event insurance for the conference. This is a renewal of the policy, and if we make the decision to add general liability, that would actually happen after the conference, which would be on April 20th.
Right. So there's
But
no
here's-
point in doing that before the conference, right? Because we wouldn't even be covered.
And you're not
Yeah.
required to have event insurance. That's just
Yeah.
a choice.
Yep. So here's what I'd like to propose. I would like to propose that we send you all of these documents, and we'll send it through the Magip board email, and everybody can take a look at the way this insurance quotation, the way that it's written, and then send any questions that you have back. And Nate and I will pursue those questions and see if we can get answers. I think we'll definitely find out about ways that we could decrease this, and then skinny it down as much as we can, and then get options that would include the general liability or exclude the general liability. Does that sound like a good plan moving forward? Yeah,
Sounds good.
okay.
Don't wait too long for sending questions. I mean, look at it within a week or so and then send the questions within a week or so that we can move forward with this. I don't want, I mean, this doesn't need to be dragged out too long here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And thank you, Mike, for saying that. I mean, I think that it would be best if we could get we'll get this sent out either today or tomorrow, and then get your questions back to us by Friday. And then we'll do some research and get it back to you. Like, we don't want to be dragging our feet on this because it is, I mean, it's insurance and it's due April 20th. We don't want to be late on it. So we also had some other questions. So there was this question about the consumer portal. And then also, so Nate and I were talking about this. How are we going to get it signed? How are we going to write the check? And then this is the actual premium that would come through. So we just had some other questions about this. This is just the formal document. So we'll send all of this to you all so that you can take a look at it. Yeah, and then again, ask your questions. I do have those questions that you've already asked, and we'll see if we can get some more information.
And did we even, and it's probably in the document and we'll review it, but one thing I'm thinking about, what are the limits? You know, like how much coverage do we get? You know,
That's in the document.
100,000, 1 million, what are we talking about? Well, we can read it. We can read it.
Yeah, sorry. I stopped sharing my screen because I closed one document thinking that it was the document. Sorry, going back again. There we go. Let's go back. So here's the quote. I think, Rob, to your
Up at the
point,
top are the limits.
there we
Yeah,
go.
right
They're
there.
right here. Yeah. All right. So we are way over time on this, but it actually is I think it's a really important topic. And I asked Nate to plan on taking as much time as we needed to talk about it. Sorry, I see you squinting. Is that helpful, Rob? To see that a little bit bigger?
Yeah, I'm just not seeing the coverage amount. But oh, there it is, 2 million.
Yep. We'll send this document. Everybody take a look at it, ask your questions, and then we'll come back and make a decision. And if that means that we all, do a vote early so that we can get it paid, we'll do that. But I do think that all of you have really great questions, and I think it's a really small price to pay personally. And Nate and I talked about this. I probably tend to be overinsured than underinsured, but that's the way I look at things, and everybody has a different way. So let's make sure that we do what feels right for the organization. So having spent an awful lot of time on on the insurance update, just moving forward, I'm just going to recap. Nate, if you wouldn't mind being the point person on this, if you could send all of those documents to everybody on the board, and we'll take a look at them, and then everybody have your questions back to Nate by Friday, and then we'll move forward. Okay. Any other questions, discussion about that? Okay. Thank you, everybody. That was really important and probably not the funnest stuff that we work on, but Megan, you're up. So this is to talk about the policy for organizational members. Pop that up just a little bit so everybody can see.
Thanks, Gail. Yeah, so just to follow up from the previous discussion, there had been some questions about when we should take off logos, what different items the organizational members get. And so we met on March 6th, and I've posted a link to that folder and drive, and it's in our email too, with what the current letters are from Wild Apricot that get sent out. And the same message was getting sent out to the individual and the organizational, or very similar. And there's a couple sent out before, one when things are lapsed, and then a couple after. So one was sent within a week, and then one in 2 weeks. And we talked about changing those to the first one after your lapse to 2 weeks, and then 30 days. And then what would happen after the 30 days. So after the 30 days, we would, after that email is sent and they haven't renewed, take their logo off of the website. Jackson's been working on that updated letter that would go out. And so I'm not sure, Michelle, if you got that updated for the 14 days. Perfect.
I did. And actually, I think 14 days would be today.
Today, got it.
So I actually set it to go out tomorrow.
Tomorrow, got it.
Yeah, and then the next, so that one is the one that basically says, hey, your membership is expired, but there's still time, blah, blah, blah. And then the next one goes out, I think on April 1st, it says it's expired. Like, and then it just suspends. I didn't have it lapse them, but it suspends them so that they actually still could renew. If it was an oversight, they still would have kind of like that one last opportunity to renew.
Yeah, but after the 30 days, I would definitely take the logo off. And if they renew, then fine, then we can re-put it back on, but.
Yeah, right. That's a good point for sure.
Yeah, so I think after April 1, I'll talk with Michelle and see which orgs we have are new and which ones we've lost. And I'll get that website updated. I think we got a new one as of this week with Madison County. So they're coming in. And then with this change in the letter that's going out, I'll make sure that what we have for the organizational members gets updated on the website too, in the join page.
Yeah, and I think we've had 2 other recent ones too there, Megan. I think Butte Civil Bow and WGM Group.
Oh, great.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. The link in there also, Michelle had exported the list of the archive contacts. So if anybody wanted to look through those, I saw a couple that maybe they might renew at some point, but I wasn't sure if they just have like a new contact in there anyway. So something to look at. I don't think it's hurting anything if they're just in the archive. If they come back, they come back.
All right. I don't think there's any vote required for this. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Okay. Yeah,
Thanks,
I think
Jackson,
this-
for updating the letter, and Michelle for getting it all set up back up in Wild Apricot.
Yeah, thanks for everybody's work on this. This was actually a really interesting conversation, and thank you both, Megan and Jackson, and also Michelle. And I think Helen, you were on the call as well. I think Mike, you were there too. Appreciate your time on that. It's really important, and it's interesting to me. Like sometimes things can just be left, and you just don't realize until all of a sudden things are old, and you're like, wait a minute, we should do something about this. But yeah, I'm happy to see that we have some policies in place for that. So okay, and you actually got us right back on time, Megan. Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Megan.
that. Okay, any other questions about the policy for organizational members? Okay. With no questions, we'll move on to professional partners. So this is Mike Powell and Helen. And actually, before we move on, I want to make just point out that we changed this from professional members to professional partners to make a distinction between organizational members and our professional partners. So thanks, Mike, for that. I think that's helpful to have that distinction. Okay.
Yeah, did you want me to get started?
Yes, please.
This just deals with our partnerships with Marls, MAP, and whatever other organizations we can come up with. Yeah, I mean, the backstory, just to make it short, is that we wanted to make a little highlight of them on our conference webpage, which we did, but then questions came up, it's like, well, what is that actual about? We don't really have anything on our webpage describing what our partnerships are. Helen came up with a couple paragraphs and a couple suggestions of what we should call it. Megan and I looked at that and we agreed that professional partners would be good because of, as Gail said, separated from organizational members. Also, we took a look at that first draft. We were pretty good with it. Then we had to come up with, we have to come up with what the benefits are for being a member. Right now, we have the booth swap. That's generally what we have. Other than that, we don't, I mean, we've talked about maybe doing membership. They can come to our conference under their membership fee, or it'd be under our membership fee, even though they're not a member of us, but they're a member of MAP/Marls. I haven't heard anything back from either one of those two yet about that idea. It was floated around quite a bit at Marls itself. So I think they're excited about it, but yet I have yet to hear anything back from any one of them to suggest that that's what they're doing. And I also do not know what their plans are for our conference. I have yet to, I haven't heard anything from either one of them yet. And that's about where I'm at. Helen, you got anything else for them?
Nope, I think you summed it up very well there, and it's kind of the formalizing what was a handshake agreement to trade booths and maybe getting something structured set up where we could put our Magip membership in or something, or and get a little discount code and vice versa for if these members of our partnering organizations or professional partners would like to come to the Magip conference. That would be my goal, is to also share like the member level discounts. And I think that would be meaningful, but there's probably, a little bit of follow up to do with those organizations to, hey, should we formalize this? Do you want, is this some, let's make it real and put it on the website and give these benefits to our members. That maybe a step two. I think we've acknowledged them on the website. I know we were, the partnership was kind of celebrated at the Marls conference, is what I heard from Mike. So I'm really excited to be partnering with some of these awesome professional organizations like MAPS and Marls.
Helen, I'm wondering, can we, well, two things, right? Mike, you needed some justification, and I think we could probably keep that pretty simple. and just say, professional development. I mean, if you're already a member of an organization, you see the benefits, right? So we just say professional development and networking as justification. And then Helen, I'm wondering about those benefits that you're, the specific things you're talking about. Could we just write those in and say, look, if we do this, here's what you get, and we're basically, trading membership. So if I'm a Magip member, and we have this relationship with Marls, I'm technically also a Marls member.
I think we did basically suggest that this kind of member rate trade when we sent out, Mike sent them out some more, these kind of letters that we made to some of our, what we called at that time, affiliated organizations to suggest a booth trade and or member discounts. So that those were the two things that we talked about as a benefit of developing partnerships between our professional organizations. So that was kind of like out there, and it sounded like people were like, yeah, great, but there's not like a formal agreement
Right,
or structure yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're right, Rob. We did send that out in a letter when we all did that. You and Helen wrote that letter, to be honest with you. And I did send it out to Map and Marls. I haven't sent it out to anybody else. And I've talked to them, and they said, yeah, we're gonna have a meeting about it and all this stuff. But at that point, I haven't heard anything else to officially say yes, we're gonna do something like that.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think to eliminate the back and forth a lot, or, if we're going into the negotiation or whatnot, we say, here it is. This is what we're suggesting. You can check the boxes, and then we sign it and we agree. Maybe we have two boxes, right? Like you said, one was like what price equity for members, and what was the other one?
Booth trade at conferences for an exhibit booth.
Yeah, so we kind of just put that in there, and then we can sign it and we're good. Or they can choose not to say it. They could choose to say, we'll give you a booth, but no, you got to pay full price for membership or for attendance.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just a matter of them, getting back to us, and I'll follow up with them again just to say, hey, look, we need some kind of, let's get this finalized kind of thing, like you said.
yeah, and if
Yeah,
I could
and
just say something really quickly, I do think that there might be a little bit more of a challenge there, Rob, because I think that in the way that we have a formal process of how we make things like this happen, Map and Marls also has that same kind of a formal process, and it might not be as quick as just saying, hey, check the box, because they probably have to put it in front of their board and have a conversation about it as well. And what enters my mind is we have an election coming up where half of our board is going to be changing. The same thing is going to happen with MAP and Marls, right? And so when we build these partnerships, we just do want to make sure that they're going to be sustainable from year after year after year. And so if it takes a little bit longer to get there, I would feel more comfortable with that.
yeah, I mean, I was thinking from the point of view, like we have a standard document, right? Like,
Oh, I
we don't
see.
have
I
to
gotcha.
reinvent the wheel for every organization, right?
Okay.
Here's this thing, fill in the blank for the organization. Here's the things we're proposing.
I got it. Thank you for qualifying that, because I was like in my own mind trying to figure out how we could make that go faster. And there's just not a fast way to make it happen when you have, all the people that need to come to the table. But then
Right.
also,
Right. No,
I
there's
think that,
there's the whole process. I was just trying to outline the document that we submit for that process.
Helen, do you have, and Mike, do you guys have that document? Because I know you guys wrote a letter that we approved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the letter, or go ahead, Helen.
It's in the Magip Google Drive folder, and I believe Hillary moved it from draft documents into templates, so it's just like a
Nice.
template. There were kind of two different options, one for organizations we kind of already have a relationship with, and then another that might be like a cold call type of, hey, you seem awesome, do you want to partner with us and maybe share some benefits? So those are both in the Google Drive there. And I'm not logged into my Google email, so I can't get there right now. It's a million authenticator steps away, so.
Right. No, that's okay. I guess that in my mind, I'm thinking about how we would follow through with this, from election to election, right? Like, the management of these professional partners, does that fall on the position that you're in, Helen? Do you think?
I'm not sure. I don't
Okay.
necessarily know. They're not members, but it certainly is, maybe providing some benefits to our members.
I mean, we were gonna have something on the website. I mean, that was the whole thing for this, was to have an actual page. Like we have for the organizational members, have a page for professional partners. Maybe put their logos on there and put, just an explanation of what the benefits are, something that's more solid than the handshake.
I love that idea. Yeah. I think I missed that part where we were talking about adding the professional partners page. And maybe it's something to highlight on our website, right? Because how often do we add like something new that people haven't seen before? I love it.
Well, Megan did add a little spot to highlight both Marls and Maps on the conference page as our professional partners. There's not a lot of, detail right now because we're still working through, it's handshake. It's not, we don't have those locked in member discounts yet. I think we can get there with a little follow up though, and move forward with maybe making a page to highlight specifically those partnerships as we maybe, kind of grow some of the future partnerships.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Anything else? Any questions for Helen or Mike?
Mike, the only thing that came to mind was, can you also ask them when you do follow up if they'd be willing to feature Magip on their websites as well? Seems like
Yep.
a good way
I
to
was
get the word
thinking
out.
the same thing, Jackson. Good call.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. I love it.
Ooh, Jeff coming in with another mountain background. I also love that.
And where is that, Jeff?
Oh, that's the Crazy Mountains.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine's Portillo, Chile, if you wanted to know.
Nice. Okay. If there's no other questions for Mike or Helen regarding professional partners, we'll move on to conference planning committee updates. And thank you everybody for being willing to spend an additional 15 minutes on the call. There was just a lot to cover today. And I'm really glad that I put it on the calendar, on the agenda. Okay, Jeff, let's see, you're up.
Yeah, so seems like a lot has changed within the last 3 weeks since we last met. Michelle and I text back and forth. It seems like a lot of these numbers are changing by the minute at this point, with the early bird registration ending today at midnight. So, but right now, well, as I wrote these numbers down, it was 138. I think we're up over 140 now. And I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, I think you said numbers were like, was that like 120 something this time last year?
Yeah, the early bird deadline last year, we had 122.
Okay. So
Nice.
we are definitely ahead of last year, and I certainly expect a lot more to come in between now and midnight. So we have 19 sponsors, which is up from last year as well. So we're pretty close to hitting our goal of 20. Sanborn, Pickett and Associates, Planet, and Catalog have came in since we last spoke for our board meeting. Right now, well, actually, as of this morning, when I did the calculations for the workshops, we have 92 total, 38, 37, and 17 for over the 3-day spread. So we're sitting pretty good for workshops at the moment, but those prices don't change. So I think those will continue to roll in. Keynote speaker, we just spoke with him last week. A few of you got to meet him, so thank you for taking part of that call. He is going to take part in the local government SIG as well in the morning of Wednesday. And then he has his own 1-hour talk in the afternoon. So we kind of finalized some logistics of the keynote and his 2 different contributions that he's willing to volunteer his time. So some other updates, posters and web apps. We have 6 posters and 3 web apps. So if you know anyone, please try to spread the word. We did extend that deadline to April 11th, but really we can pretty much go right up to the week of the conference or the weekend of the conference for especially the web apps. The student and early career professional roundtable that most of you are aware of. We got 8 volunteered sponsors to be involved in that meeting, so that's great. Conference swag has been ordered. What did we go with, Michelle, again? We went with those dry bags, right?
With dry bags, and then some these little like cleaning cloth things in a pouch.
Oh.
Because they were fit the budget.
Yeah.
And then some pint glasses. But we didn't order pint glasses. We didn't order like pint glasses for every bag. But you just wanted some there for like prices and stuff and then to use later throughout the year, right, Jeff?
Yep.
Yeah. And then we have a couple sponsors who said they're sending things for the bags as well. Somebody's doing frisbees. I think it's wet.
Frisbees, nice.
Some kind of frisbee.
Okay. And then we have oh, go ahead, Helen.
No, you're fine. Finish up.
And then we have the welcome address local guest speaker finalized, and it's Andy Shirtliff. He's a Helena city commissioner, so be good to have him part of it as well. He was a recommendation from Eric and Jason. Sounds like he has a lot of interest in maps and GIS, and he's pretty involved in the community. So I think many of the local Helena folks will definitely recognize him. Social media and email blast activity. We are certainly been very busy with that. So thank you, Michelle and her crew on that. And then Michelle and I have been continue to update Sketch as things have changed. One other thing I forgot to note, we got more details about the Learning Lab. There's 25 courses that they'll have loaded up on those machines. And so I put all the course names basically in that schedule link that has the Learning Lab information.
Do you want me to put the link to the PDF on the conference page that you sent out, or?
I just linked the page to the Sketch. I don't know what to do there.
And the PDF went out. I think I linked the PDF in that 2 announcements ago too,
Okay.
like where we kind of highlighted the Learning Lab. The PDF is in there too.
Yeah, and I think the social media blast that went out this morning links the Sketch. So that's why I made sure to update that before that went out. But yeah, we certainly could link it if you think it's necessary. I'm not opposed to it. That's all I have. So yeah, everything's looking good, and we're about a month out, so less than a month.
Thank you, Jeff. That's a lot.
Gail, do you mind
right.
if I chime in for one unscheduled announcement for the
Do it.
group?
No,
So
no. La, la,
I
la,
just wanted to let everybody know I unfortunately had a last minute trip for work come up that I was not able to get out of, even though I made some
Okay.
strong arguments that it was very late notice. So I'm not going to be able to make it to this year's conference. Jackson's gonna facilitate the student and early career professionals roundtable. I already sent him kind of what was on my mind for a plan for that, with some like prompt questions in case students say nothing. And then my colleague Dan Mummert is gonna give the talk on my behalf on stormwater management and impervious surfaces, since we worked on that together. So I am hoping I'll be able to peel out at some point, maybe for one of the just general meetings or announcements, and join the group for here or there. But I still don't know the full agenda of this. It's like some required management training. So I'm really sad I'm not going to be there with you all, but I'll be like trying to FaceTime during the pub crawl. Well, not the pub crawl, the Ascension Brewery night, that sort of thing. So just be sure to answer your phone if there's a random FaceTime from me, because I'll probably be needing my GIS community love at that point. So just wanted to let you all know that.
Yeah. We're gonna miss you, Helen. And I
Sure.
also would
Yeah.
like to just pop in really quickly and say that so Helen was instrumental in helping us to get our keynote speaker for next year. And if Helen's able to get a few minutes to pop away during our board meeting, we're going to try to get her to come on so that she can announce the keynote. So we'll see how that goes. And Helen, we'll work with you to figure it out. And if not, somebody will take credit for all the work you did.
Yeah, you or Jackson can announce
Yeah.
it as
Yeah.
the president, past president. Dynamic
Maybe we'll all
duo.
have like a circle of solidarity for you and announce it all together or something. So anyway, well, thank you, Helen. We're just so gonna miss you. And okay, so keeping everybody on time and on schedule. So Mike, I did add a line for you to talk about the election committee social media blast update, slightly separate from all the work that Michelle and Jeff have been doing, but equally as important. And I think Megan, you might have put together a survey 1, 2, 3 for that. Maybe somebody did take credit.
Well,
Mike.
I
Maybe
mean,
it was. Okay, Mike, well done.
well, I mean, it's for the elections, so yeah, I mean, there's a survey 1, 2, 3 out there. We put the announcement out, call for nominations. Haven't had anybody nominate anybody yet. But it's out there, and Alicia did put a blast out there. We can certainly have her do it again. I also want to say to Jackson, if you need some help with that student thing on that first day, let me know. I'm sure I'll be available, that I can help you out with that roundtable or whatever.
Cool. Thanks, Mike.
So, but yeah, with the election thing, get the word out and tell everybody. Try to get people to nominate. It's out there. It's waiting for people to be nominated. So.
I don't know if that's Mike or Michelle, could we ask Alicia to send that again? I just really think that it's important that we like super highlight this
I think she
election.
has it amongst the rotation, so
Awesome.
it'll probably, I mean, I can touch base with her again, just
Thank
to
you, Jeff.
clarify, because I have some things that to clarify with her too. But
Okay.
I'm sure it'll go back out next week, and I'll let you know, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Michelle, other logistics that Jeff didn't cover.
Yeah, I don't think I really have anything else to add. I just wanted to go back to what Megan had said earlier in the call, that there is that list of archived members out on the drive, just as people
Oh.
have time to peruse those. Yeah, certainly doesn't hurt to leave them sitting in the archive. But if there are people that you know we can get rid of, let me know so I can delete them out of the system, as we always are encroaching on that 2,000 contact limit we have in the database. So, you know, as you have time, just look through that list. And if I think I made a column for notes, so I can go in and look at it periodically too. But if there are people that we can actually, like, you just know, okay, that person retired, I know they're not doing this anymore, and we can just delete them out of the system, that would be really helpful.
Michelle, I mean, when I sent that list out, or the call for nominations through Wild Apricot, I mean, we had 5 that bounced back. And there was actually, and you said that you could take a look at those. I mean, I think you have the ability to look at that, but those 5, there's a couple of them on there that, well, I mean, one I know is not there anymore, and there's a couple of other ones there, but I mean, that's a good quick one right there to take a look at. And if, I mean, when you look at it one day, just let me know and I can join you and we can
Okay.
give you my 2 cents on them.
Okay, that sounds good.
Where is the folder that document is?
I think it's under, is it under board documents and then membership? I can't, do you remember, Megan? I think
In
it's
the member outreach.
But yeah,
It's under
which is
board- Yeah,
underneath
draft documents,
draft documents, yes.
which is under board business.
Yes.
Buried it real well.
It's kind of buried, yeah.
Could you put the link in the chat? Maybe
Yeah,
that'd
I
be-
can put it in there again. if
Oh,
you
sorry, you
didn't
probably
see
already did
it.
it. Oh, I must not have.
It's there, yeah, it's,
Oh, I see it.
mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought that was referencing something else. So
And
I'm just gonna-
It was, but that it's also in there it's
yeah,
the 2
here's
things we
the
were
link
talking
directly
about.
to that folder.
Yeah.
Yeah, she put
Okay.
it in there.
Putting it in there now.
Thank you. Yeah, she put that in there, Gail, when we were talking about the emails that get generated to
Yep.
members.
That's
when
what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, thank you. Because I was like, that's not the same thing, is it? All right.
Yeah,
Cool. All right. We have 4 minutes. I can't believe we're actually on time. Thank you,
And then
everybody.
and then one other thing there, Gail, we have our next planning meeting is tomorrow. And then Michelle and I were thinking about setting up one last one, but not everyone has to attend, so we're probably just gonna have to create like a one-off, but it'll be essentially, I think it'll probably be Tuesday or Wednesday the week before the conference. So there'll be probably a few of you that'll be involved in that, but it'll be most of you that are either involved in speaking opportunities or other logistics that are closely tied to the conference. So
Okay, and then I actually do have a question for you, Jeff and Michelle. So my plan is to come over on Sunday. I know last year we had talked about trying to do a dinner, which didn't work out. There was a bunch of conversation about when we were going to get there on Sunday, but this year we haven't really talked much about it as the whole board. So what's the plan for Sunday? Have you thought that far ahead?
I mean, I'm probably the usual stuff. Probably just set up anything that needs to be set up, obviously like our banners or putting stuff in storage. Michelle, I think you were getting over there Sunday, right?
yeah, and then we'll start putting the bags together,
Yep, the bags, yep.
But I don't think we'd planned on it. Jeff and I haven't like set an actual time for that yet, Gail, but I think Jeff,
Okay.
are we staying on this Zoom after, or are we getting on a different one?
We'll just stay on this one.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about that, Gail, and let everybody know what time
Okay.
we plan on doing that piece of it.
Okay. All right.
It'll probably be in the afternoon, I think, like most other ones, in case any of us have any evening plans, or those us that are local, you can just go back to our families. So
I just had a thought, and I apologize, I didn't plan this out in advance. So we have the member satisfaction survey that we sent to our members back in I think October, maybe November. And I mean, right now we have 47 responses, which is more than we had last year. So I'm excited about that. Michelle, I just pinged you to see if you can just resend that same email. I think you sent it in February, just, one last reminder maybe to our members to give us feedback so we can, serve them as best we can. And since I'm not gonna be able to join the conference, I did really enjoy hearing that member satisfaction survey update that was shared with us last year. I don't know what the plan is for the member meeting agenda, but if there's time and if somebody is willing / able to take a look at the survey and share those results with our members, I would greatly appreciate that. And I just took a cursory look at some of the graphs and responses and things, and it's good. I think we're getting really good feedback, suggestions. People are seeing the value, and it's fun to see the word clouds and all the stuff come in there. So if you did want to have a mind meld with me sometime soon and look at it, we definitely can. But
Yeah.
if somebody's willing to maybe help share that with our members, that would be amazing.
Do you want a deadline
Helen.
on that, Helen? When I send it out again, do you want me to tell them to provide their feedback by a certain time?
Like maybe the day before the conference.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to make a huge difference, but I really would love to, have as much feedback from our members as to how we're doing and how we can do better.
Yeah,
Okay.
so Helen, I actually have on my calendar, I think it's this Friday to put together the agenda for the conference. And I would love to be able to get together with you and talk about some of that feedback that we've gotten and present it. Probably won't spend quite as much time as Mike did last year, but definitely want to have the word clouds and what we're doing great highlighted. And if there's things that we need to improve on, right, we need to talk about those things too. So,
Yeah.
all right, it's 3:16. We have officially gotten through the agenda for today. It does sound like there's some other things, but I'm gonna officially call an end to the meeting unless anybody else has anything to say.
I'll motion to end the meeting.
Thank you.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the meeting is officially ended. And I will stop the recording.